Since the stink attack is a lobbed projectile attack, we're going to need a targeting reticule to tell us where our attack is going to land. What's interesting about the targeting reticule is it's actually just a particle system. We're going to set up a particle system that's going to render in such a way that it looks like a texture or an image or a decal. I'm going to start by creating a new particle system by selecting Create Particle System. And I'm going to rename this Stink Target Ring. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go down to the renderer module and I'm going to change the material. I'm going to change this to Target Ring. Now obviously we can see that this doesn't quite look right, so I'm going to change the render mode from billboard to horizontal billboard, which is going to attempt to align this with the ground. Once that's done, I can go back up to the top and start setting up the rest of my properties. First off, I'm going to change the duration to 3. For this effect, I'm going to leave looping and play on awake turned on. I'm going to change the lifetime to 1.25. The start speed is going to be 0, meaning these reticules won't go anywhere. We can already see how they're aligning parallel to the ground. The last thing I need to do is change the scaling mode to shape. For emission, we want this to actually have a very slow emission, but I'm not going to change that just yet. I'm going to skip over that first and I'm going to remove our shape module. Now we'll see all the particles are going to emit at the exact same spot. Now in emission, I'm going to change the value from 10 to 2. We can already see how some of them are stacking on top of each other. I'm going to add a burst. The first burst will be at 0 seconds with a minimum and maximum value of 2. I'm going to add another burst, this time occurring at 0.05 seconds. This will also have a minimum and maximum value of 2. Finally, I'm going to add one more burst at 0.1 seconds. Again with a minimum and maximum value of 2. I'm going to go ahead and apply a color over lifetime module. And this module is going to use a gradient. The gradient for this color over lifetime is going to start with a strong yellow. I'm going to use the values 241, 255, 0. I'm going to end with a less strong yellow color. I'm going to do 255, 206, 0. I'm also going to start with full opacity, but I'm going to end completely transparent. Now I don't want this fade to be linear all the way across the life of this unit. Instead, I'm going to add one more value nearer to the end, and I'm going to make it slightly higher than 50%. That way it stays mostly opaque longer and then dives off at the very end. I'm also going to go ahead and add a size over lifetime module. For the size over lifetime module, I want the values to range between 3 and 0. So I'm going to go ahead and add a 3 in the upper left hand corner. I want this to start with a value of 0. And then I want there to be a pretty extreme shift and a pretty strong angle. So what I'm going to do is right before the 30% mark, I'm going to add a keyframe. And I'm going to drag this up fairly high. And I'm going to use the handle to bring it down. I don't want the curve to be so extreme, so I'm going to add one more keyframe. And there we go, and we'll round it out just like that. So now we can see the effect that's having on our targeting reticule. It's going to be used by our stink attack, and it doesn't really have any scripts of its own. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to save this as a prefab. I'm going to open up the VFX folder, subfolder of the prefabs folder, and then I'm going to click and drag the stink target ring game object down to the project window.